בשם השם נעשה ונצליח, שיעור תורה, ברוכים הבאים, שבוע טוב, שבוע מבורך. We're back for another week, continuing our series of the Jewish HaShkafa, based on the Sefer by the Chazon Ish, Alav Shalom. Jewish HaShkafa, the Jewish ideology. Chazon Ish has been teaching us over these last several months how to think like a Jew. Which many times people believe they're Jewish, they're born Jewish, they practice Jewish things, but do not know how to think like a Jew, because their HaShkafa, their ideology, is quite frankly the opposite of what the Torah commands us to. And who better than a Chazon Ish to teach us what the Jewish HaShkafa is supposed to be? Surely a person wants to learn how to do something from an expert. If you want to learn to be a doctor, you want to learn from the best. If you want to be a lawyer, you want to learn from the best. If you want to be anything in the world, you want to learn from the best, and there is nobody better than the Jewish sages to teach us what the right HaShkafa is. Tonight's shiur, BeEzrat HaShem, will be for a refuah shlema of Rabbanit Levana bat Sarah, Rav Ephraim ben Shulamit, Rabbanit Sarah bat Anat, Orit bat Ilana, Talia bat Sarah, Itro ben Avraham, Stefan ben Katarina, David ben Esriya, Doris bat Jora, and also for a Atzlacha Rabba of Shaul ben Farzane, Oshri ben Doris, Gabi ben Doris, Elad ben Doris, David ben Esriya, and also for Marsha bat Julie, Ayla bat Marsha, Alexander ben Marsha, Samuel ben Marsha, Cephas ben Marsha, Reuven Chaim ben Palaparel, and Joshua ben Noach, and also a full welcome back to our very dear Vimesh. Kadosh Baruch Hu give him refuah shlema, refuat hanefesh, refuat haguf. Most of you did not notice, but because the operation continues and the KIRUV continues. But Baruch HaShem, our dear Vimesh, has been in the hospital for a couple of weeks, still doing KIRUV from there. I think that if anything else, this teaches us that if somebody really wants to help Am Yisrael, they'll find a way to do it, even when they are in the hospital. This I'm teaching not because he asked me to, not because he even wants me to, but because it's really MUSSAR for the rest of us that have a lot of excuses of why we can't do more for the sake of Am Yisrael, why we can't share, why we can't donate, why we can't learn, why we can't teach, why we can't do a lot of things. When you really sit down and think about it, and Baruch HaShem, the team HaShem has between 50 and 60 different people, between the volunteers and the employees and all the wonderful people that help us. But managing the large group of them is our dear Vimesh, and it's the show doesn't start without him getting involved in everything. And the one thing that was amazed me over these last few weeks is that he refused to stop doing KIRUV. He refused to stop helping Am Yisrael see the Torah. And many times when you ask people, why don't you take some flyers and distribute in your community? Why don't you give a MUSSAR from your salary? Why don't you give some time to share some things on YouTube or on your Facebook or on WhatsApp and so on and so forth? And many times people say, yeah, I'm going to do it, and they really don't, or otherwise they don't do as much as they could. But every one of us has an excuse of why we're not doing. So we don't mean evil, we don't mean bad, but all of us have excuses. But when you see somebody that's as dedicated as Vimesh, it reminds me of the Gemara that says that when a person goes up to Shemaim with his list of excuses, HaKadosh Baruch Hu already has the answers. If a person says, listen, Hashem, it was very hard for me to follow what you said in this week's Parashat Acharei Mot, where Hashem talks about all of the immorality crimes, promiscuity, being with having girlfriends, boyfriends, things of that nature. There's a pasuk in this week's parasha that specifically forbids a person from being with all types of people that he's not allowed to, whether it's the common knowledge of incestual relationships, or also not so common knowledge of someone that's not your husband or someone that's not your wife, i.e. girlfriend and boyfriend, where the Torah says in the book of Leviticus, chapter 18, verse number 19, Ve'el isha benidat tumata lo tikrav legalot ervata, that a person is not even allowed to come close to a woman, even if she is his wife, when she's nida. The Gemara says that in a Masechet Avodah Zarah, that there was a Talmid Chacham that died young, and the woman came and asked people in the Kollel. And I think we talked about this last week. And when Eliyahu Navi came to her, seeing that she's genuinely looking for an answer, and he asked her, where your husband, he touched you when you were nida? She said, no, he never touched me when I was nida, when I was bleeding, he never touched me. He said, what about when you were counting the days right before you went to the mikveh? She said, yeah, then, we slept in the same bed, but we were never intimate, even though we ate from the same plate and we did hold hands, but we never were intimate. And Eliyahu Navi says to Baruch HaShem that he killed him. Why? Because he went against what Torah says. How did he go against what Torah says? Torah doesn't just say, don't be intimate with someone that's nida. It says, don't even come close to her. Don't even come close to a woman that is nida. And even though you were his wife, he came close to you, put himself close to a sin. It's a isur Torah, it's isur karet. Needless to say, if someone is not your wife, someone is not your husband, and someone tells to Hashem, listen, Hashem, it was very hard for me not to, not have girlfriends or boyfriends. So Kadosh Baruch Hu is going to show them who? He's going to show them Yosef HaTzadik, the most beautiful man that ever lived, other than Adam HaRishon. He was a very beautiful man and had the opportunity to be with one of the most beautiful women in history, one of the foremost beautiful women in history, Potiphar's wife, and still did not do it. So Hashem says, the woman that you wanted to be with, or the guy that you wanted to be with, more beautiful than these two? No, but yet they overcame. He overcame, meaning Yosef HaTzadik overcame the obstacle. So the actual Midrash says that even Potiphar's wife really meant to do it for the sake of heaven. She saw in a dream that Yosef was going to bring a lot of Kedusha to the world, and she wanted to be a part of it, but obviously she thought that she was going to be the one. She didn't know that the daughter that she adopted, Osnat, which was really Dinah's daughter, was really the one that was going to marry Yosef. But the point being is that a person is not going to have the excuse of I was too pretty and therefore I couldn't say no. I was too good looking and therefore I couldn't say no. That's not going to be an excuse. And someone's going to say, yeah, Hashem, listen, how could I fulfill all of your mitzvot if you gave me so much money? I was too busy to learn Torah, running all these businesses that you gave me, all these buildings that you gave me, all of these insurance companies and hedge funds and real estate companies and all types of things that you gave me. I had to manage all of it. I didn't have time to learn Torah. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to bring him Hillel. Hillel is going to bring him for the guy that doesn't have any money, because Hillel was the one that was as broke as could possibly be, but still gave his last dime for the sake of learning Torah. And when he didn't have that last dime, he laid down on the roof of the Bet Midrash of Shmaya and Avtalion while it was snowing and let the snow fall on top of him. And the one that was rich, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, was so rich that he had literally cities full of goods that he had, boats and people and all types of slaves, but yet he had an extraordinary wealth and an extraordinary amount of Torah. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not going to give the guy who didn't have money or the guy that had a lot of money any room for their excuses, because he's going to give them different examples. And my point of all of this, and reminding all of you guys of these stories, is that when it comes to KIRUV, and all of us come to Shemayim, and Hashem is going to say, what did you do for me? If we say we learned Torah, Hashem says, who says that you learned the right way, first of all? And second of all, how much Torah did you really learn? Were you Rav Kanievsky? Were you the Steipler Gaon? His father? Were you Rav Ovadia? No. So how much Torah did you learn? And in reality, all the Torah is for you anyway. So what else did you do? For me? You're going to say, I did mitzvot. The mitzvot you're commanded to do. You're not doing it for me. You're doing it for yourself. Say, well, what could I have done for you? He said, did you bring any Jews back to me? Did you bring any of my children back? Any of my daughters back? To do mitzvot, to be modest, to be to keep Shabbat, to tarat mishpacha, stop wasting seed, promiscuity. Did you do any of that? Oh, Hashem, I tried here and there. I shared a lecture here and there. I donated a few dollars here and there. Yeah, you did that once in a while, but did you make it your business like the Gemara in Masechet Sanhedrin says? Where if you want to be saved from Chevle Mashiach, from the birth pangs of Mashiach, you have to Torah and Gmilut Chasadim. And there is no other Gmilut Chasadim greater than Zikui Rabim, than helping people do tshuva. And then you're going to tell them, yeah, but Hashem, it was difficult because I didn't want to offend people, and it was difficult because I was busy, and it was difficult because I was in the circumstances. I personally believe He's going to bring you Vimesh. He's going to bring Vimesh. Look at Vimesh over here. He was half dead in the hospital for 2 weeks, still doing KIRUV. Nobody knew that he was even in the hospital. And that was not the first time, and not the second time. And many, many other times, continues to help Am Yisrael do tshuva. And if it wasn't for a rebuke for us, I wouldn't even tell you the story, as I haven't told anybody who's been in the hospital for all these weeks. Why? Because, Rabotai Karim, it's MUSSAR for the rest of us. All of us that have excuses of why we're not doing more, remember, if you really want it, you would do it. Why does He do it? You ask Him, He'll tell you, listen, I can't live without helping Am Yisrael. I can't live without doing KIRUV. KIRUV is what saves me. KIRUV is what saves me. When a person sees KIRUV for what it is, the Torah for what it is, he understands that that's what's saving him. And this, Rabotai, is the right way of looking at things. But now we want to go a little deeper into what the Chazon Ish says, where over these last several weeks, the Chazon Ish has been shocking us week after week, where we learned what emunah is, we learned what bitachon is, which already from those first several lessons, we learned that everything that we've learned our whole lives is simply wrong. To believe that just Hashem is just going to save you just because doesn't exactly work that way. To believe that just because you believe God exists in the world, that being emunah, doesn't exactly mean, it's not exactly true. Emunah means that you understand that Hashem is the creator of all creations. He's monitoring every single little thing that you're doing in your life, whether it's your netilat yadayim, or you do birkat hamazon, or you want to do the bracha, or you don't want to do the bracha, whether you really mean it or you don't really mean it, whether you're generous or you're just pretending, whether you are learning Torah for the sake of heaven, or you're learning Torah for the sake of your own honor, and so on and so forth. And the bitachon is that you have complete knowledge that whatever Hashem is putting in front of you, whether it's somebody blessing you or somebody cursing you, whether it's somebody giving you a job or firing you, whether it's somebody telling you that you're the best or somebody telling you the worst, that's all with permission from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Meaning, don't be so upset or happy and enamored by where this information came from as far as the human form that it came from. Why? It's all coming from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's complete knowledge that everything you have in your life is coming from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This, Rabotai, is one of the difficult points for a lot of people, but the Chazon Ish has explained it to us thoroughly. And he told us further after that we must learn MUSSAR in order for us to develop our character traits, in order for us to open up our neshamot, to build our emunah and build our bitachon. But if we only learn MUSSAR without learning the halacha, we can become the worst possible people on earth, because MUSSAR without halacha is evil. And now he's going to go deeper into that. Now he's going to go in the 3rd chapter, 11th section. He's going another paragraph deeper into what that actually means. And I titled the shiur, The Worst Talmidim in the World. And I'm going to give you some personal stories of certain things that I've seen and encountered in my short 7-year career as a person that's teaching Torah, of different Talmidim from all over the world. Baruch Hashem, we have thousands upon thousands of people that we're in touch with on a regular basis. And the reality is that it's if it was a bet midrash that we have, a physical bet midrash to fit all of the students, we'd need quite a few buildings, or perhaps maybe the Microsoft headquarters, just because how many people, Baruch Hashem, are learning from us from all over the world. But with that, with all of that good, there's surely going to be a bad apple in every tree. So there's definitely a few bad apples that we've encountered, maybe a little bit more than a few, and we'll discuss them. And really, what is the common denominator? What is the common denominator among all of the bad talmidim, all of the bad student, followers, supporters, whatever you want to call them? What is the bad denominator that all of them have? And it's not just for me, it's for any rabbi. Anybody that's teaching people, we all encounter the same thing. If you have people that follow and listen to you and come to your shiurim and so on, from time to time you're going to have some bad apples. And the interesting thing that the Chazon Ish brings is that all of them have a common denominator. All of the bad Talmidim have a common denominator. Now, to throw you a little bit off, I would say, but yet this is going to create some value at the end, I'm going to ask a couple of halachic questions. Halachic questions that you can think about, and then we'll get the answers. But it's not just an halachic question that a person should say yes or no, but rather understand why. Because to say yes or no, even a donkey can do. He can nod his head. We're not looking for yes or no. Knowing halacha means that you know the reasons behind everything. And it's important for every person to know these things, simply because it's thinking like a Jew. Thinking like a Jew is one of the things that we're all trying to get to at this point. That's the whole point of this series. So one question is, if, let's say, there was a person that went to the market to buy fish. He went to the Jewish market. He saw there was one guy selling fish. And he says, Yaakov, I want the best fish that you have in honor of Shabbat. Okay, most of you are probably thinking the famous story of Yosef Mukir Shabbat, that's in the Gemara Masechet Shabbat, at the end of the Masechet, of how he bought a big fish, and in that fish, there was a huge diamond that HaShem made sure that Yosef Mukir Shabbat found, and he became the richest man of the land, going from the poorest man of the land that honored Shabbat. So this is a very similar story, but a true story that happened more recently. Most Yosef Mukir Shabbat is also a true story, but happened many years ago. This story happened more recently. A person goes to the market, says, I want to honor Shabbat. Yaakov, the fisherman, I want you to give me the best fish you have. He says, this the fish I have, big fish. Okay, sounds good. What's the price? He gives him a price, a little expensive. He says, okay, I'll take it, cut it up for me, and I'll take it home. So, Yaakov takes out his tools, takes out the scales, cleans up the fish, opens up the fish, and his eyes light up when he sees a chain full of diamonds and jewels on it. Now, the customer, Avram, is excited as can be. I'm rich. Look at the greatness of HaShem, of how he gifted me this golden chain, just like in the story of Yosef Mukir Shabbat. Why, I honored the Shabbat. I bought a fish that's really beyond my budget, but I bought it. I'm going to pay for it. Everything's good. I ordered it. All right. No, Yaakov says, Habibi, it's not your diamond. Don't start celebrating. It's my diamonds. I didn't sell you diamonds. I sold you a fish. I'm selling you a fish. He goes, no, come on, Yaakov. Don't be like that. Don't be like that. It's not nice. It's my diamond. He goes, not your diamonds. He says, how could it not be your diamonds? I bought the fish. He says, listen, you didn't take the fish. It's still in my possession. It's my fish. He says, yeah, but you cut the fish for me. You cut the fish for me. He says, yeah, I cut the fish for you, but you still didn't get it. He says, yeah, but the halacha says that you cut the fish, and if I would have said, listen, you know what? I don't like the way fish looks. What would happen? What's the halacha? This guy told me, Chacham, what's the halacha? I don't know what's the halacha. Says if you cut the fish and I say I don't want it, you can obligate me to buy it. So is it my fish or it's not my fish? That's question number one. Question number two. Rabotai Yekarim. We have a situation where someone leaves his car, someone drives his car, nice fancy schmancy car, but car breaks down and he has to take it to the shop. Takes it to the shop. The guy at the shop says, like all guys at the shop say, what an expense you have on yourself. What do you mean, what expense? because you need to fix a few different pieces and they're expensive. Okay, great. So can you, how much? And I'll get it. He goes, I'm sorry, I don't have those pieces. I don't have those pieces. He goes, can you order them? He goes, no, those pieces, I don't know who sells them. I don't know who sells them. You're going to have to get them from overseas. I'm sorry. So the guy now has a nice fancy car, but that fancy car is useless right now. He doesn't know what to do. He walks down the road. As you would have it, Ishtabach Shimo, he sees there's a car just like his, parked. Walks by and he sees there is 1 or 2 inches of dust on top of this car. It's been abandoned apparently for a long time. No one's driven it. No one has driven it. No one has washed it. No one has done anything. And if that doesn't make things so apparent, he sees there's a notice on the car, warning from the city: if you do not move this car from this spot on such and such date, we're going to tow the car and take it to the junkyard and destroy it. That's what the rule says. What's the date? 14 days from then. So he says, listen, to take it right now, I can't. Why? Because, the guy could just take the car right now. I'll wait. He waits 14 days. On the day that the tow truck's supposed to come, he sees nobody's picked up the car. What does he do? Feels at home, takes the pieces that he wants, and yalla, it's my pieces. The tow truck comes, takes the car, goes in the junkyard, is destroyed. At least he got his pieces, he fixed his car. Baruch HaShem, right? Okay. As you would have it, Shmuel comes from his long trip overseas, sees that his car is missing, looking for his car. And he said, anybody see my car? And one of the neighbors says, yeah, I saw your car. The tow trucks came. It's been a long time. You've been gone for a long time. And they put a notice there. Nobody had the key. Nobody could help you. Nobody had contact with you. And they took it. It's like, oh, wow, okay. He goes, but listen, I do have something for you. That Reuven, that lives down the street, he did take a few pieces of your car. Because what do you mean he took a piece of my car? He tells him the whole story. Ah, okay. At least I'm going to get some of my money back. He goes, knocks on. Reuven, hey, yada, no, come on. Pay up, let's go. What pay up? For what? Who are you? He tells him, look, you took the car pieces. Hey, Habibi, I don't owe you anything. What do you mean you don't owe me anything? You took my piece of my car. I didn't give you permission. You have to give it to me. No. That car was hefker. That car was abandoned. And that's it. What abandoned? It's my car. The tow truck didn't come yet. Until the tow truck comes, okay, it's my car. It didn't come yet. You didn't find it in the junkyard. It's my car. You have to pay me. No, both cases go to the Beit Din of Rav Zilberstein. And what is the answer? We'll answer that BeEzrat HaShem at the end of the shiur. Why at the end of the shiur? Because we have to know, to answer halachic questions, you have to have MUSSAR. To answer to have the right MUSSAR requires halacha, meaning both feed off of each other. And you'll see that our natural inclination is to rule based on our feelings. That's really our natural inclination. Who's right? Based on our logic. Oh, this is right. That's right. That's why I say, don't just give the answer being the right answer, but why is it the right answer? So now, Rabotai Yekarim, the Chazon Ish says the following. People who have spent their time since youth perfecting their character traits by studying books that teach people how to do so, meaning MUSSAR books, whether it's Chovot HaLevavot, the Netivei Or, the Mesilat Yesharim, or Path of the Just, Reshit Chochmah, and countless other books that have been written by our sages to teach us how to develop our character traits. But these people that have spent a lot of their time studying MUSSAR, many times they're Baalei Tshuva, or people that are just trying to improve themselves and so on, they have not learned the laws of judicial matters, meaning they haven't learned halacha, and therefore have not acquired the love of justice. So here we're repeating same thing he said so far, where somebody says, Rabbi Yaron, I listen to every shiur that you have. Good. Do you also learn halacha? No, I learned from the shiur. Okay, that's good that you're learning from the shiur, especially if it's in the beginning. But after a little while, you have to learn some halacha along with my shiur, not just my shiur. My shiur by itself is not going to be enough to teach you everything you need to know how to keep Shabbat. You have to learn the laws of Shabbat. It's not going to teach you everything you need to know about the holidays. You have to learn the laws of the holidays. It's not going to teach you everything about kashrut. You have to learn the laws of kashrut and so on and so forth. My shiur is going to teach you the right HaShkafa, MUSSAR, how to become a better human being, a few halachot here and there, but you have to combine it with halacha from books. Oh, no, it's enough for me. Just your shiur is just enough for me. It may be enough for you because you think the shiur is great, and I appreciate that, but I'm telling you, as the one that's telling you the shiur, it's not enough. Why? You have to learn halacha. If you don't learn halacha, the shiur is not going to be enough for you, and the Chazon Ish gives us an atomic bomb. An atomic bomb, Rabotai Yikarim, for people that only learn Musar. Needless to say, this is also for people that only learn halacha. If a person only learns halacha, he doesn't know how to apply the halacha. He also has the same results as what the Chazon Ish is saying here. But nonetheless, here the Chazon Ish says, people that spend all of their time learning Musar, no time learning halacha, therefore, they have not acquired the love of justice and are more susceptible to moral illness of perversion of justice than those simple people who have not studied the matters of fear of God and the ways of perfecting one's traits at all. Clarification: a person that only learns Musar, needless to say, if he only learns halacha, only learns one of them, is now more inclined to have this spiritual sickness that will make him a complete heretic, make him completely horrible in the eyes of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Why? Because he will pervert justice. He will pervert the halacha. Why would he pervert the halacha if he learned so much Musar? If I worked on my anger, shouldn't that make me a better servant of Hashem? If I worked on my humility, shouldn't that make me more humble like Moshe Rabbeinu and therefore accept everything Hashem says? If I worked on my generosity, shouldn't that make me a better servant of Hashem by giving and throwing my money around to all of the kollels and the yeshivot and the KIRUV organizations? So how could so much Musar be bad for me? How? Chazon Ish continues. It's not only bad, but it actually is worse than if the person never learned it at all. Meaning, a simple person never learned a little bit of Musar in his life. He just knows a little bit of halacha. He learned in yeshiva, he learned at the local bet midrash, and so on. Never learned Musar. That guy is less likely to have terrible traits and perversion of justice than the guy that learned only Musar. Even though Musar is a requirement, so much so that Rabbi Yosef Karo, the Baal Shulchan Aruch, the father of all halacha, that all of Am Yisrael complies with, the Shulchan Aruch, he himself wrote that he got rebuked by the angel that he learned with, that he has to learn more Musar every day. He only learned 2 hours a day. He had to learn 3. If he had to learn 3, we have to learn 3,000. But that's a different story. Point is, Musar is prerequisite for all of Am Yisrael. It doesn't matter if you're the biggest rabbi in the world or you're just a brand new person. So how could it be that someone that learned only Musar is worse off than someone that has never learned it at all? Chazon Ish continues. And there is no question about is the Chazon Ish right or wrong here. This is the Chazon Ish, Rabotai. This is Da'at Torah. Chazon Ish says the following. The Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, has a way of placing undue pride and firmness of opinion in the heart of a person who seeks perfection by learning Musar, so that such a person looks at the masses from above. In so many words, he learns about Musar, he learns about perfecting his character traits, he learns humility, he learns anger, and not halacha. So he doesn't know when he's allowed to be proud. He doesn't know when he's supposed to be humble. He doesn't know when generosity is a must. He doesn't know when generosity is forbidden. He doesn't know when Lashon Hara is forbidden. He doesn't know when Lashon Hara is a mitzvah to say Lashon Hara. He doesn't know when to share the news. He doesn't know with who to share the news with. He doesn't know when to keep his mouth shut. He doesn't know. He just knows, listen, I should just be humble like Moshe Rabbeinu. I should never be angry about anything. And I should love everybody. Right? That should make me a better person. Or better yet, I'm going to be like Pinchas. I'm going to hate everybody. That is not a tzaddik. Or best yet, I'm going to be generous with everyone that comes to me. Or better yet, I'm not going to give to anyone because it must be that everybody's a criminal. Because they're all asking for money, so they must be criminals. In so many words, he perverts justice. He goes to the extreme on everything. Why? He doesn't know when to apply the law. He doesn't know when to apply these traits. And that, Rabotai Yekarim, is one of the things that happens to a person that only learned Musa, where he starts looking at everybody else in the world as if they are below him. He feels much superior to them. And all his actions are, in his eyes, the most generous and perfect deeds. He has become an arrogant person and doesn't understand that his own perspective of himself is completely demented, completely off, and in fact, his actions are despised by HaShem, not loved by HaShem. You will be amused to think that he is being suspected of robbery. For he says, for my deeds are always beyond the letter of the law, he thinks, and are straight and good. This person starts looking around and he says, how could it be that anyone is questioning me? What, you're asking me when I showed up to the prayer? I showed up, don't worry. Yeah, but you're late. You're late every single day. Prayer starts at 7. You're showing up at 8. We're almost finished. You're questioning me. Don't you understand that I'm already doing all types of kavanot and stuff? He starts thinking that how could anybody question him even? In fact, he goes to the Bet Midrash, and if he's a new Baal Tshuva, he has a lot of siyata dishmaya, especially during the first year or two, where he's able to learn a lot of Torah. A lot of Torah is very common in Baalei Tshuva. In the beginning, you're able to learn a lot of Torah, understand a lot of different things, and you start looking around, and you don't like what you're seeing. Wow, these religious people, wow, they're really slacking. He goes to Bet Midrash, and he sees the guys are learning all day. Once in a while, the guy goes for a bathroom. Once in a while, the guy takes a sip. Once in a while, he discusses a few things. They're not matmidim like me. They're not dedicated like me. I learned 8 hours straight. These guys are... we got to change things around here. Then he looks at the rabbi. Sees the rabbi's going in, out, in, out. Once in a while, he's answering the phone call. He doesn't understand the rabbi's running the show, has to raise money, has to pay the bills, has to run the operation. Looks at the rabbi. Rabbi's soft. Even if it's the rabbi that helped him do tshuva in the first place. Rabbi's soft. He's doing it already for 25, 30 years already. Listen, you need new blood in his place. I can do this. Yes, guy, he's still in his tshuva diapers, still hasn't completed a single masechet in the Torah, but he thinks he can do a better job than the rabbi. Why? Rabbi's old, rabbi's slow, he's not dedicated like me, he's not learning as much Torah as me. Rabbi may be learning an hour, 2 hours a day. I'm learning 12 hours straight I learned yesterday. 12 hours straight. He figures... nobody here is like me, I could run the show. They should just give me the keys to this Bet Midrash. I'll turn it into what Rabbi Akiva built. He doesn't understand it's maybe after what Rabbi Akiva, when everybody got killed, but that's a different story. The reality is, Rabotai, is that the person looks at the religious world around him and he sees deficiencies everywhere. Nobody is good enough. Nobody's good enough. I'm not talking about he finds deficiencies in the heretics that are distorting the Torah and changing it and so on. I'm talking about even in the good people. In the good places, these people pray too fast. Maybe you pray too slow? Doesn't think that. These people don't have kavanah. Why don't have kavanah? How do you know they don't have kavanah? Well, you're in their brain? No, listen, they finished Amidah in 6-7 minutes. How could they have kavanah in 6-7 minutes? Maybe they're like Rav Ovadia, who prayed in less than 5 minutes Amidah and still has more kavanah than you would have in your entire life. Maybe. Never thought in your head? There's no way. No way. You need at least 20 minutes. 20 minutes Amidah in order to have real kavanah. You need 20 minutes maybe. Maybe they don't. No, I never thought that. They're not really serious about their learning. What makes you think they're not serious about their learning? They get up, they get down. Maybe they have bathroom problems. Maybe they have stomach problems. Maybe they have financial problems. How do you know everybody's story? No, listen, I saw the guy playing with a phone. He was watching on a phone. He was watching something. And you never play with a phone? You are Baal Tshuva 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years. You don't have a phone? You don't have issues? You don't have a lot of problems? No, nothing. You're perfect. He says, you're questioning me? You know what I do. You know how I learn. You know how much I do. You know how dedicated I am. There's no kollel that's the right fit for me. He expects to walk into a kollel and for the ocean to split for him like it did for Am Yisrael coming out of Egypt. Listen, I need a kollel that's going to teach me, but teach me in my level. What's your level? I need to learn Kabbalah. Kabbalah. How many times you complete the Shas? Excuse me? What's that? The Shas, the Talmud Bavli, Talmud Yerushalmi. How many times? No, I don't learn that type of stuff. I learn straight Kabbalah. That's what I think. I dream in my mind. All Kavanot, the Yesod, and the Gvura, and the this, and the Chesed, and the Malhot. And what? What are you talking about? What? Because you read a few Rabbi Nachman Breslov books, and the Bala Tanya, you read a few lines here and there, you heard a few terms from Kabbalah, you think you're a Kabbalist? No, listen, I want to learn zoal, straight zoal. That's what I go Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, straight. He's a baby, not even in diapers yet. He's pre-diapers. And he thinks he goes to the highest level. I want somebody to teach me already the mystical part of Judaism, the highest part of mysticism. Habibi, le'at, little by little. Take a step at a time. No, I'm fast-paced. I want to go straight to the source. And that's the reality. The reality is you see people coming in and expecting the world around them to change because they came in. Why? Because they learned a little bit of MUSSAR. They think that they've become humble, but in reality, the MUSSAR that they learned has made them more arrogant. I've seen this with my own eyes multiple times. Baruch Hashem, not too many times, but nonetheless many times in comparison to I'd say what other people see. Where you see people learning MUSSAR, loving to learn about Gehenom and punishment and horrible things, but you ask them a single halachot Shabbat. Listen, by the way, what do you do? What do you do if, let's say, you notice that as soon as you leave your house, there's a light coming on. You forgot to turn it off. What do? What do you mean? You keep going. I got to go to shul. Oh, really? It's your light. You keep going to shul. You keep turning on the light, turning off the light every single time? Oh, no, you don't go to shul. Oh, so you don't go to shul? You don't pray then? Oh, what do? Wait, but you learn Zohar. How do you not know the simple halakha of what to do? Oh, I didn't get to that yet. Oh, you didn't get there yet, but you already know the name, the family name of Gavriel the Malach, the angel. And that's the reality, Rabotai. People do not know basic halachot of what to do and how to operate their Shabbat table, but they want to skyrocket to the upper echelon of Kabbalah. Upper echelon. Hey, Rabbi, listen, I love Judaism. Oh, yeah, you love Judaism? It's good. What do you love about it? I love talking about the mystical part. I like in Chassidut, we learn about the Gvura, and we learn at the Yesod. What are you talking about? What do you mean? Rabbi, you never learned about the Yesod and the Gvura and all these other things? And I'm looking at them. Do you know what you're talking about? Do you know what you're talking about? Do you know what this Gvura is that you? Yeah, it's the Gvura. It goes to the Yesod. And Yesod, it goes to the Malhot. And the Malhot is what makes me feel like that. I said, you need to go to an insane asylum with the Yesod and the Malhot and all the other things that you learned, and take the guy that taught you all this stuff with you. Why? It's not true. It's true, just not what's in your head. You have no idea what you're doing. It's like you taking the tools of an engineer that builds rockets and start working on your car with it. It doesn't work, Habibi. It doesn't work. It's like you taking the tools that the surgeon operates on the eye and you use it to maybe fix your shoe. It's not going to work. You mentioning those terms doesn't mean you know what you're doing. And unfortunately, Rabotai, many times people go and they hear these different terms, and fakers love to mention those terms. Fake speakers love to mention those terms because they know for sure that the crowd has no idea whatsoever what they're talking about. But since everybody is self-conscious about their own knowledge, no one wants to admit they have no idea what they're talking about, and they know that their friends don't know what they're talking about. But if they tell them these terms, it'll sound like they know what they talk about, and they become the smart person in the room. But in reality, nobody knows what they're talking about, including the rabbi that's talking about it. Why? Because he did the same exact thing. Just did it 3 weeks ago, and then he became a rabbi. And that's the reality, Rabotai. Many people that you hear talking about these terms have no concept whatsoever of what a yechud is, of what anything is. Why? Because this is not for babies. This is not for little kids. This is not for little children. In fact, this is not for the vast majority of the population. Even some of the great sages that we had denied studying these issues. Did they know them or not? We can never question their knowledge. Surely they knew a lot. But did they teach it? Did they talk about it on a regular basis? Absolutely not. But yet your average person starts talking about like he's Rabbi Nachman Breslov Jr. Why? Because he thinks that he read a few terms in a book and therefore he knows it. And that is all gaba. You see many times you have these different speakers where they have their, whatever you call, their shiurim they have, and you see the comments of people. And you see the comments of people, of different women, saying, yeah, I love this guy's shiurim, I love this rabbi's shiurim, he really helped me get my gvura. And you see the woman says, well, I wish he would have helped you get clothes, because your profile picture would be more appropriate if he had clothes. She thinks she got gvura from the guy's shiurim. She doesn't know what modesty laws are. Another guy says, oh, this guy is the best. This guy is the best. He's helping me get to my Malhot. Your Malhot? What? Because now you think you're a king? For Malhot? That just means you're arrogant, Habibi. That's all that means. But yet you'll see time and time again, people teach it, people yearn for it, and I've even seen with my own eyes. One time I was in a shul, and this is probably maybe 7 years ago, 6-7 years ago, and they were praying mincha arvit, and they had some guest rabbi that came to the shul, and then the shul was not exactly full of talmidei chachamim. Let's just say that. I knew everybody there. There was one guy that was a talmid chacham, really learned guy, and there was the rabbi, which I later found out was a clown. And then there was the kila, which were just balibatim that, you know, some of them kept Shabbat, some of them not so much. None of them were a scholar, let's just say that. But there was maybe like 40, 50 of them. Anytime the rabbi would ask him to learn a shiur, everybody would be checking their phones, you know, not really interested in Torah at all. Not on Shabbat, not during the holiday, not nothing. That's just the way it was a tough kila. But anyway, this guest rabbi came, and he says to everybody, okay, listen, we're going to Shimon's house to do a shiur. Saw people weren't really buying into it. He goes, no, 40 minutes, strict zoal. All of a sudden, it goes, oh, like little mice, little ducks. Everybody followed him like he's Ima duck, everybody. Except the Talmid Chacham and myself. Why? First of all, none of these people are qualified to learn zoal. Number one. 2, he's not teaching them zoal. 3, the whole scene was a joke. But why do they run? Because Maim Gnuvim Im Taku. stolen water are sweeter. Water, whether you bought it or you stole it, tastes the same. But Shlomo HaMelech says, when it's stolen, meaning when it's forbidden water, when it's water that's out of reach, suddenly we want it. And that's what happens a lot of times, and sometimes speakers lower themselves to their crowd and in essence tell them that they're teaching them one thing, when in reality they're not teaching them that one thing. They're just telling them, they're calling it something because they know they'll get more views or more people, so they'll put on their flyer Kabbalah secrets. In reality, the guy's teaching you Chumash Rashi with maybe a little bit of Ramban. Oh, the secrets of the Kabbalah. In reality, he's teaching you the Midrash of maybe the Zoal, perhaps a few Gemarot, nothing else, maybe a little bit of his opinion, nothing else. But he knows if he writes Kabbalah or mysticism or something like that, everybody jumps in. Now, he may have good intentions, the rabbi. The problem is, what the Chazon Ish is mentioning here, is the student. The student now, he has attended, she has attended several of these so-called shiurim, learning about Malhot and this hut and that hut and all types of things. Great. And she now thinks she's a Hasidah. She thinks that she's the Bala Tanya, but female version. She thinks that she is the Baal Shem Tov, but just as maybe a Gilgul of his wife. She is already thinking about everything, but she doesn't even understand the basic law that requires her to cover her hair with a mitpachat. She doesn't know the basic law that requires her to cover her arms. She doesn't know the basic law that she has to be modest even with her speech and stop saying Lashon Hara and stop laughing so loud and so on and so forth. She doesn't know. But she tells her friends and her girlfriends about the Gvura and the Malchut and the Yistu and the all these different things. And the reality is she makes a mockery of our Torah. And this is no different with the guys. I had one guy I met one time, not too long ago. He wanted to marry one of my students. So my student asked me to speak to this person. And I spoke to him and I said, so what do? You keep this, don't keep. He says, no, I keep. We're keeping Bala Tshuva already for X amount of years. And okay, good, Baruch Hashem, who's your rabbi? Nah, I haven't found a rabbi. Flag number one. Biggest flag of all. How can you be a Baal Tshuva or a religious person altogether without a rabbi? How? How is that possible? No, listen, I haven't found the right one because my rabbi that was really good, he moved to Israel. I don't know, my rabbi has always been in Israel. He's still my rabbi and I talk to him as often as I need to talk to him. No, I need to see him. What are you looking for, a girlfriend? What do you mean you need to see him? You have a question, you send a letter, you send an email, you make a phone call. That's it. Everybody has this thing about seeing the rabbi. Why do you need to see the rabbi? Do you think that every student that the Rambam had, he saw him? The Rambam got a letter from some young student who asked him to translate his Mishneh Torah to Arabic. He never saw him in his life. But he did what he asked him to do, and he translated the entire Mishneh Torah, which is amazing, to Arabic. Did he see him? No, he didn't see him. Many times rabbis don't see their students, but people have, I have to see him. Okay, so you didn't see him. So there's nobody else good by where you live? No, they're all modern and they're very into the pshat. Flag number two. What do you mean they're only into the pshat? That's what we're supposed to learn. The pshat, the basic meaning of everything. No, I'm above that. Oh, you're above the pshat? Pshtabach shimo la'ad. You're higher than Rashi? You're higher than Rashi? Come here, I want to kiss your hand. You're higher than Rashi? Wow. He's higher than Rashi. I couldn't believe I said, Ishtabach Shimo, thank you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I didn't know that you're going to give me the schut to speak to somebody that's higher than Rashi, who's higher than the Pshat. This clown tells me, no, I learned, I'm not, Pshat's not for me. Oh yeah, well, what's for you? No, I go straight to the Zohar, Kabbalah. Don't misunderstand this, Abutai. I love the Zohar. It's Kodesh Kodashim. But when somebody tells me they only study the Zohar, I know without a shadow of a doubt that person is a clown. That person has no idea what he's talking about. It would be surprising if he knows the basic laws of tefillah, of just praying. Forget about the laws of Shabbat or the laws of anything else. Just to pray the right way would be surprising if he knows. Why? Anyone that understands how you're supposed to learn, basics, what you're supposed to do in life as a Jew, here somebody says, I only learned the zoal. Unless you are an extraordinary scholar that has already covered everything, know everything, you're one of these geniuses that's Kodesh Kodeshim yourself, you know the entire Gemara by heart, you know all of them, you're just something, you're Rav Ovadia, and now you've decided that, okay, I'm going to be Rav Kaduri, and I'm going to focus on the zoal for the next few years, okay, but who are you? You're about Tshuva for 5 years, 10 years, and already you think that you know everything? Rabotai, that's what happens. I've even seen one guy claimed to be a rabbi, came to visit the United States. He was at a friend of mine's house. And this guy dressed weird, looked weird. But, I kept my mouth shut at those days. It was still early on. And we were hosted by my friend. And we're sitting there after the meal. And the rabbi says to his helper, Go get me the zoal, or go get me, I think it was the zoal. So the guy goes, hey, hold on, but make sure it has no commentary. I don't need that stuff. That was when I knew he's a joke, he's a scammer, he's a liar. Why? The greatest sages in the world read with commentary. Why? You double check. Who knows that you actually know what you're talking about? But he made sure to say it loud enough so the owner of the house hears, wow, this rabbi is such a scholar, he already doesn't need commentary anymore. If you're really that much of a scholar that you really didn't need commentary, guess what? You'd also be humble not to tell people about it. But that's what happens in the world. So now, Rabotai, what ends up happening is that these types of people, they are people that learn different things without completely learning what they're supposed to. And in many cases, a person could start learning MUSSAR and think that that MUSSAR by itself makes him better than everybody else, makes him more humble than everybody else, makes him more generous than everybody else, makes him cleaner than everybody else, holier than everybody else. And in fact, if you question him, he mocks the fact that you're even questioning him because he is the mentality of, you know what you're talking about? You know who you're talking to? You know who did it? And I've seen that too. He's one of these people that used to come to my shiurim, and he was one of these people that if he did something, he would make it seem as if nobody knows that he did it and he doesn't want to tell everybody who he did it, but you'd make sure that you know he did it. You guys notice all the coffee is there, right? Yeah, thanks, appreciate it. You don't know who did it though, right? No, but whoever did it, thanks. You don't know. You don't know. Okay, all right. By the way, you guys notice that the place is clean, right? Yeah, it's clean. It's good, Baruch Hashem. Clean lady came. No, clean lady didn't come. No cleaning here. Oh, but it's clean though. Yeah, isn't that something? You don't know who did it though, right? No, we don't know who did it, but whoever did it, thank you. Yeah, you should thank him. You should. It's like one of those jokes. Like, it's like, okay, buddy, you want the credit? What, you want to take $75 out and give it to you? Like, what do you want? Some people are like that. Who, you know who was like that? Yerovan ben Nevad. Yerovan was one of the kings that Am Yisrael had, who was an extraordinary Torah scholar. The Gemara says that he had 127 different insights about every single halacha in the Torah. To have one insight about everything in the Torah, you're already the greatest of the greatest. To even know the entire Torah. 127 chidushim, new insights about every aspect of the Torah you could ask him. But yet Yerovan ben Nevat went to idolatry and led the rest of the people to idolatry. Was afraid that people are going to go to the Bet HaMikdash, afraid that people are going to go. He put idolatry in the way. No, you don't need to go to the Bet HaMikdash. You go pray to this. And he became a choteu machti tarabim. He sinned and he led others to sin. But he had merit of a lot of Torah that he had. A lot of Torah that he had that was ruined by his pride. But yet, Gemara says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself came to Yerovan and told him, come and do tshuva. And then you and I and David HaMelech, Ben Ishai, will be walking together in Gan Eden. Now, if HaKadosh Baruch Hu comes to me and he says, do something, and then you and I, the end, whatever you want, where am I going? Forget it, you don't need the rest of the sentence. Anybody normal. Hashem says to you, go do tshuva, go do whatever, and then you and I will, you don't need the rest of the sentence. Sure, Hashem, let's go. That's any normal person. Yerovan was not exactly normal. Why? He knew a lot of Torah. And he says to Hashem, who's in the front? Who is walking in the head? Now, Chachamim say, what do you mean? Hashem clearly said it. He said, you and I. Meaning that Hashem is going to be at the head, Yerovan is going to be second, and then David HaMelech are going to walk together in Gan Eden. In reality, who cares? That's what we're thinking. But that's because we don't have the same test as Yerovan. But anyway, you are in the head, you are second. What difference does it make? Yerovan knew this because Hashem said it. It's going to be Hashem, Yerovan, David. So why did he ask? He's a smart guy. You know why he asked? He knew Hashem said that he's going to be ahead, but he liked to hear it. He liked to hear it, so he wanted to hear it again. You know what it's like? The wife makes good food, and you have guests over, and she wants to show off the food a little bit. Why? She worked hard on it. She worked hard on the food. And you know, the guests are coming, everybody's eating like they've never eaten in their life. Wow, this is good. Well, what'd you say? What'd you say? Oh, I said it's good. Oh, okay, it's good. Okay, good. Oh, you like it? Yeah. Wow, it's very good. Well, okay. And another guy says, yeah, it's delicious. What'd you say? Oh, you like it? Yeah, I like it. You like it? You like it? Yeah, I love it. Oh, why are you asking so many times? You deaf? The guy is a half a foot away from you. Why are you asking again? I want to hear it again. Why do you want to hear it again? People like to hear compliments. Rabotai Karim. That's gaba. That's pride. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, To'evat Hashem kol gvalev. Hashem finds people that have pride an abomination. Disgusting. And that's exactly what happened with Yerovan ben Nevad when he got the opportunity of a lifetime, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself came to him and said to him, Yerovan, if you do tshuva, I and you and Ben Ishai, which is David HaMelech, will be walking in Gan Eden, meaning you're going to be ahead. But when Yerovan says, well, who's going to be ahead? And HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Ben Ishai is going to be ahead. Why? You were ahead, but now that you're expressing still gava with me, you lost that right. You can still do tshuva and you'll still come. But David HaMelech doesn't have this gava. But then there's other commentaries. I learned today from Rabbi Ephraim. He says that he didn't just ask who's ahead to hear that he is ahead, but rather he was saying to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, why are you ahead, Hashem? I should be. Meaning he wanted to be ahead of even Hashem. He said, you're humble, David HaMelech is humble, okay, so I'll be ahead of you. You can let me go. What do you care if you're so humble? This, Rabotai, is a person that had an opportunity to be walking with Hashem in Gan Eden. Instead, he's walking in Gehenom, or rather yet, being burned in Gehenom for now and forever. As the Gemara in Masechet Sanhedrin says, there are certain people that have lost their share of the world to come and have eternal punishment. One of them is Yerovan ben Nevad, who had an opportunity, multiple opportunities, to utilize the Torah that he learned in order to get to the best possible heaven, but instead, that disgusting pride turned his Torah, instead of the potion to life, it turned into a potion of death. Says the Chazon Ish, when a person has this gaba, this pride, and views all of his actions as perfect and generous, he's even amused to be suspected of any evil or robbery of some kind, because he says, my deeds are always beyond the letter of the law. I'm stringent in everything. I only learn the chumrot, the stringencies. In reality, anyone that's only strict on everything, he just automatically goes to the strict side, for sure is an idiot. Why? It doesn't require a Talmid Chacham to know when to be strict. A Talmid Chacham is one that knows when you should be strict and when you should be lenient. That's what a Talmid Chacham is. But not should be strict and should be lenient based on feelings. When it's allowed to be lenient and when you should be. But someone that says, no, I'm strict in everything because I learn the highest, above the letter of the law. I learn the zoal, I learn the Kabbalistic books and so on. This person is surely an idiot. Again, I'm not talking about the real Talmidei Chachamim that are really tzaddikim and are doing it. I'm talking about your average person. If you're talking about the Gdolei Ador, obviously they're not really part of this conversation. But I'm talking about your average person that thinks that he can be stringent without even having a rabbi, without even knowing Shas and Poskim, which is to learn the Gemara multiple times, to know it, to know the Poskim, to know how to understand halacha, how to determine halacha, and so on and so forth. But he wants to be strict without even understanding why he's strict. These are people that usually torture their families, because nobody even knows what they're doing and why they're doing it. And many times their kids go off the derech. Many times their kids end up hating the Torah, hating religion, hating God, because all they're learning is that you're not allowed to do anything. And you don't really know why. Because the person that's telling you, he himself doesn't know why. But he tells you, no, this is the way it's supposed to be done. But in reality, that's not sufficient for anybody else other than him. So this is another time I saw a person that was one of these clowns that says that he only learns the Kabbalistic things. And again, like I said, Kabbalah is Kodesh Kodashim, but it's only for the few. When a new Baal Tshuva, 5-year Baal Tshuva, 10-year Baal Tshuva tells you that he's only learning Kabbalah, it's multiple red flags, to say the least. But the best part is that one time I saw one guy who says that he doesn't learn halacha, he doesn't learn Gemara, he doesn't have a rabbi, he doesn't have anything, but he is an expert in mystical teachings, especially the zoal, and all of the rabbis in the world. Everybody's bad, everybody's terrible. Somehow I haven't joined that list. I'm sure if he's watching this shiur, I will join that list. But nonetheless, he knows everything. Nobody's good enough. All of the good people already died. The only one that's left that's any good is him. And best yet, he's so good that he feels perfectly fine to go send a threatening letter to a rabbi that was not of his opinion about this whole vaccine situation. Not of his opinion. He had an opinion that I think you shouldn't take the vaccine. The rabbi said that you should take the vaccine, or that you could take the vaccine, whatever it was. And he copied me in the email threatening the rabbi. Listen, if you don't change your mind and you don't do it, you're probably getting paid by the vaccine companies. And if you don't do it, I'm going to expose you. And to me, I just deleted the email. It's a complete joke, and I assume that the other rabbi that got this letter probably deleted it also. But it's a complete joke of how much a person's ego grows with every word that he reads without even understanding what that word is. I even had one guy, a guy that was coming to my shiurim, and I tried to help him. He was not really keeping very much when I first met him, and he started keeping Shabbat, started keeping other things. Baruch HaShem started keeping the BEIT, and so on and so forth. But then at some point, things turned completely off, where he started using his semi-tshuva, that he was not sinning with certain sins anymore, as a way to, view himself as better than everybody else. And he would just simply shout and insult anybody else that was in sight, including me. Listen, Rabbi, I don't agree with you on this one. What do you mean you don't agree with me on this one? I just told you what the halakha is. Yeah, but I don't think you're reading it right. Do you know how to read? That you're telling me I don't know if I don't know what I'm reading? Do you know how to read? Do you even have this book? I just don't think that you're saying the whole thing. I think that you're shortchanging me of what the other opinions are. The guy was a mechalel Shabbat, motzi zera levatala, and probably eating taref 5-6 months before I met him. And now he's telling me that maybe I really don't know what I'm talking about. Why? Because sometimes when you only learn one aspect of the Torah, and you're not willing to commit yourself to learning the halacha, to know when to apply, what to apply, and how to apply, what ends up happening is that people end up using this MUSSAR, this new teachings, just to inflate their ego, and it actually makes them worse people, not better people. Becomes very dangerous. And again, it's the same concept with halacha. I've met several people that all they learn is halacha. I've gone to synagogues. We see the guy every single day after prayer, him and a chavuta, every day. They learn halacha for an hour, 2 hours. They know a bunch of different things. The rabbi squeaks. Every time I would go to that shul, if the rabbi squeaked on halacha, one of them always said, but Rabbi, but you do know that there is an opinion that says a little bit different than what you're saying. Okay, but Habibi, this is not a shiur about all the different opinions that ever existed about this halacha. I'm just telling you guys what to do. Okay, but I'm just telling you, there is an opinion. And he would distract, and he would embarrass the rabbi, and he would embarrass everybody else. Why? You want to make sure that you knew that he knew something else existed in the world. That's a person, not only is his Torah poisonous, but he will have a very hard time ever gaining the olam haba that he's lost multiple times back, because of how many times he embarrassed people in public. Needless to say, the wife that he has, which was like Medusa, of how many people she embarrassed in public. How many people this woman embarrassed in public. With the kisur roshan, embarrassing people in public on a regular basis. Why? They feel they're the most righteous people in the world. Rabotai Karim, sometimes if a person does not have a rabbi that's going to tell him the truth of how to behave, or he doesn't accept his rabbi, which means he doesn't have a rabbi, or better yet, he's only learning just halacha or just MUSSAR, that other part that he's not learning that will complete that person to make him better actually destroys him. It actually destroys him. And that's also one of the reasons why the Gemara says that Torah is either Sam Chaim or Sam Mavit. It's either potion for life or potion for death. This is when a Torah can become potion for death. Spiritual death, of course. So now, Rabotai, the Chazon Ish continues. This person who doesn't think that there's anything wrong in himself, all of his deeds are good, says that when he talks about halacha, he talk about, listen, how come you're not coming to pray? How come you're not contributing to community? How come you're not part of the community? How come you're not doing any of these things? No, the need to observe the law does not apply to me, he thinks. It's meant for people who love themselves, whose deeds are imperfect, and who lust for money. It's not meant for those who possess the fear of God and have perfected themselves like me. This is what such a person thinks. A person thinks that he is the one that has Yirat Shamayim. Why? He sees that everybody else has, their hands are in something that's not so clean. Why? Oh, you see that guy? Yeah, he's, what is he? He's religious. But 5 years ago he was married to a non-Jew, right? Okay, but he's not married to her now anymore. Yeah, but I'm just letting you know. Just so you know. You can never know. Maybe he's going to go back to that. Okay, but you realize that's Lashon Hara, right? No. Lashon Hara is only if I'm not trying to protect you, and he'll start to manipulate the world and the halacha in order to justify him saying Lashon Hara. That's what he'll do. Or another way, hey, listen, I saw that you have a picture on your profile from 13 years ago where you were laying on the beach without a shirt. You think maybe you want to take that picture off, maybe? Because you don't know who's looking at your profile. What? 13 years ago I have a picture of me with a shirt off? And how do you know about it? No, I was just, I was just surfing, I was looking to help people on the internet do tshuva, and I just so happened I ran into the pictures that you have, and I went back 13 years of comments, and I saw that there's a picture of you without a shirt on, and maybe I thought, you probably want to know that maybe you want to take it off, because maybe if I saw it, maybe somebody else will see it too. Honestly, I don't think anybody else would see it, because nobody else has no life like you to go look at the person's profile from 13 years ago. But since you say so, I'm going to go take it off. And that's what happens. Why? He is looking to perfect the world instead of himself. Because he thinks he's already perfect. She thinks he's already perfect. Rabbi, listen, what do you think of a woman that's not modest? I don't think of a woman that's not modest. No, I mean, like, what is she going Gehenom? Hopefully she does tshuva. No, but if she doesn't do tshuva, she goes to Gehenom. Which chamber she goes to in Gehenom? She goes to a really bad part. Hopefully she does tshuva. That's the whole point of what we're doing. Why are you asking this question? Are you the not modest woman? No, chas v'shalom, Rabbi, I'm modest. I did tshuva, I'm this, I'm that. Okay, so, no, there's just this woman that I saw at the supermarket, and she wasn't really modest, and she wore a wig, and I thought maybe I should tell her that she's going to go to the 5th level of Gehenom, maybe even the 7th, and maybe this, and maybe that. And I'm thinking to myself, why don't you just tell her, listen, here's a shiur Torah, here's a CD, here's a flyer. Good luck to you, BeEzrat HaShem, you'll do tshuva. What are you worrying about her Gehenom? Why are you worrying about everybody else's Gehenom? You're judging everybody, this, that. Why don't you go help them? Why don't you go help them? No, maybe she doesn't want the help, so why do you need to know where she's going? Why don't you worry about whether you're going to go to Gehenom? And that's what happens. Many times, people focus on everybody else. Why? Because they view themselves as perfect. Allah, it's not for me. It's for the people that are imperfect. It's for the people that don't have Yirat Shamayim like me. It's for the people that don't learn MUSSAR like me, have not perfected themselves like me. And that's what the Chazon Ish says, a person only looks at the outside world and not at himself. Why? His gaba is in the middle. His pride is in the middle. His pride is in the middle, Rabotai, and it simply makes it impossible for him to learn Torah the right way. And even more so, the Chazon Ish continues, anyone who suspects him that he's even doing anything wrong is considered by him to be showing disrespect to Torah scholars and desecrating the honor of HaShem. This is one of the biggest jokes in the world. Why? You go to a person and you hear him making a comment and you see he's wrong. Simply he's wrong. He made a comment. He says that if somebody is such and such, you're not allowed to help him, you're not this, you're not that. Tell him, listen, no, it's not true. You are allowed. You should, and so on and so forth. What you're saying doesn't pertain to such a person. And instead of saying, oh, you know what, maybe I'll check into it. How do you know? Can you give a source? Anything like that. They answer with, oh, hold on a second. You do realize that the Gemara says that someone that is suspecting their rabbi is like he's suspecting HaShem. And you're thinking to yourself, who said you're my rabbi? Who said you're my rabbi? And who's suspecting? I'm just telling you that you're wrong. Or maybe you should check yourself. Oh, so now you're saying, so in reality what you're doing is you're embarrassing a Talmid Chacham. Now he thinks he's a Talmid Chacham and you're embarrassing a Talmid Chacham. Oh, what you're doing is Chilul Hashem. And that's what happens sometimes. Sometimes you'll have people with such arrogance, such a big chip on their shoulder that you can't even talk to them. You simply can't talk to them, a normal conversation with them. You can't question anything. You can't say anything. You can't peep. Nothing. And it's not because they're such great scholars. Usually it's the opposite. And what ends up happening, Abutai, is that these people that have arrogance, what the Gemara really says is that a person that's arrogant, even his own family ends up hating him. And I had one time a woman call me crying, asking me if I could help her with her marriage. And I said, oh, well, maybe your husband can do tshuva, learn some of our shiurim. She said, Rabbi, I need a different solution. I said, why? I mean, is he observant? She goes, no, he's very observant. He even as a speaker. So what do you mean a speaker? He goes, oh, he speaks locally to a lot of different people. I said, wait, he's a rabbi? I don't know if he's a rabbi, but he speaks to a lot of people. Everybody knows him. I said, oh, so maybe he probably talks about halacha. Maybe he should talk a little bit MUSSAR. She said, I've told him that already. Maybe you should learn MUSSAR. And his response was, I've read 45 different MUSSAR books. Nobody can teach me anything. He read 45 MUSSAR books, and he feels nobody can teach him anything. Why? Because he read all the books. The fact that he's still beating his wife and kids, he doesn't think that's such a problem. The fact that his wife is considering suicide, he doesn't think it's such a problem. All right? He read 45 books. And no one can teach him anything. Anyone that says no one can teach him anything, surely is a arrogant person. Why? Because even David HaMelech, the Gemara says, alachak moto. At whatever David says was always the right thing. It was always the halacha, was what David said. Not because he said it, but because he was such a scholar in Torah that he always got the emet. Always got the emet. But even David HaMelech says, Mikol melamdai iskalti. I learned from everybody. I learned from all of my students. 8-year-old has a chidush of a parashat shavua. Tell me, I want to hear it. 15-year-old just finished Masechet, finished the Shas. Want to teach me something? No problem. The rabbi, 50 years older than me, wants to teach something? No problem. Anybody wants to teach me Torah, I'm listening. I can learn from everybody. If David HaMelech, that always got the emet, says I learned from everybody, you little chupchik, little cockroach that think that you read 40 books or whatever you read, nobody can teach you anything? Obviously there's something wrong there. Obviously there's something wrong there. And many times, Rabotai, a person ends up spitting on the hands that feeds him, ends up going against his rabbi, going against his family, his supporters, and eventually against HaShem, just like Yerovan ben Nevad, where all the Torah that they learn end up becoming a potion of death. Now, a person can say, yeah, but maybe there is another opinion to it, and the mystical teachings of the Kabbalah and so on. Okay, so let's go there. Who, better than the Arizal, can tell us what Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai meant in the Kabbalah, in the zoal, which, for all who do not know, the difference between the Jewish teachings and the Jewish text versus the other religions and other teachings in the world is that there is no such thing as brand new in the Torah world. Meaning that every book that's a real sefer, that has real Torah in it, has to be based on the teachings of something or some things before it. Meaning, you write a book, you can't just write a book based purely on your ideas. Cannot be. Has to be sourced, whether it's the Gemara that you want to use, or the Mishnah, or the Chumash, or the Midrash, or the Zoal, or Sifrei Musa, Sifrei Tzadikim. There is no something from nothing. Only HaShem can make something from nothing. Nobody else can. So if you have a real book, a real sefer that has Torah in it, it must contain sources, and the more sources, usually the better. The more of a sefer it is. That's why the responses, the questions and answers of the sages are very critical teachings, because not only are they giving you the question and the answer, but they're showing you all of the countless different sources that they covered in order to arrive at that answer and in order to consider other answers. But needless to say, if a person wants to be a scholar, he has to be a scholar in those types of teachings. And the zoal itself, while many who are ignorant about it think that it's not real, or it's something that people made up, or somebody didn't write it, after many chachamim Many Chachamim have studied it extensively and have verified that it's 100% emet and so on. There is no question about its legitimacy, its extraordinary kedusha that's in it and teachings that are in it. But what a lot of people don't know is that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai did not invent any of this teaching. It's not like he just came up with it out of thin air. His own teachings in the zoal is based on over 60 Kabbalistic books that were written before him. Yes, over 60 Kabbalistic books that were written before Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Even at a time where the oral Torah was not written, there were certain things that were written in the Kabbalistic world. For example, the Sefer Yetzirah of Avraham Avinu is one of the many sources that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai brings up. Malach Raziel has a Sefer. Some of it is mentioned in there. The teachings of Shem, the teachings of some of the greatest that lived before him, that wrote different books, different things, were mentioned in the zoal. It's not just the zoal is Rabbi Shimon's invention from nothing. But again, if you ask your average person that thinks he learned zoal, he doesn't even know any of this stuff, but yet he thinks he's a Torah scholar. So the one that really did teach us, did bring light to the world, as far as explaining what the zoal really says, the Kabbalistic teachings in it, is the Arizal. The Arizal had a Talmid who's known as the Malhot. The Malhot, Rabbi Chaim Vital, he wrote a lot of the teachings of what the Arizal said, and in a Sefer called Sefer Alikutim, in Daf Peichet, Amud Aleph. It's also in the BeEzrat. If you look at if you have what's it called? A Mishnah Berurah. If you have a Mishnah Berurah, then usually you have a BeEzrat in it. The BeEzrat in Ilchot Ta'anit, in Amud Taf Kuf Ayin Aleph, 571, Ot Aleph. Same thing is mentioned over there. So the Malhot, Rabbi Chaim Vital, says in the name of the Arizal that know this, makes a statement, know this, that when a wicked person learns Torah, thinking that he's adding Kedusha, this Torah is not only not doing so, not adding this Kedusha, but rather the Torah that he's learning is giving even more strength to the Klipa. As it is said in Psalm 50, verse 16, לרשע אמר אלוהים, מה לך לספר חוקיי ותישא בריתי על פיך. Hashem says to the wicked, but to the wicked, God said, to what purpose do you recount my decrees and bear my covenant upon your lips? So, here, the giant of all giants that taught Am Yisrael, brought light to the meaning of Kabbalah and zoal and so on, saying if a person is arrogant, person is wicked, and he thinks that learning the Torah because he's going to learn more zoal, or he's going to learn more halacha, or he's going to learn more Musa, but that's not going to be something he's going to apply to himself to change himself and become a better quality human being. But rather, it's going to be more things that he could just tell people that he knows. It's going to be more things that he could just show off with. It's going to be more things that he can make fun of people with, and so on and so forth. It says this Torah that he's learning, not only is it not making him more holy, it's actually giving more strength to the klipa, which is the sitra achra, the other side, giving more strength to the satan, in so many words. Giving more strength to the satan. More reasons of why he's going to be punished, this person. More difficulties of him to do tshuva in the first place. Why? He's learning Torah for the wrong reason, Rabotai. And a lot of times people do things for the wrong reason, but if they have a Rav that they listen to, that Rav can protect them. But if they don't have a Rav, or they don't listen to the Rav that they do have, which really is the same thing, or almost the same thing, then unfortunately, trouble is ahead. Well, many times a person can ask you a question, you give him an answer, and Rabbi, maybe there's a different opinion. Wait, you asked me a question. Yes. I said what I said. Yes. Do you think I just invented the answer? No. What do you think I did? You probably looked it up, or you asked your rabbi or somebody. So I didn't just invent it, right? Doesn't matter how I got it. I got it from Rabbi Ephraim. I got it from a book. I got it from Rabbi Chaim Vital in a dream. I got it from somewhere. I didn't invent the answer, right? I gave you an halacha. I gave you a source, right? I gave you an answer, right? I said no. I said yes. I said maybe. I said whatever I said. That's what I said, right? Yes. So why are you asking a follow-up question? Well, I don't know. You said, I was hoping you'd say yes, but you said no. So I was maybe trying to see, maybe there's another opinion. In essence, what you're saying is, you're asking me a question with already a decision, if you will, that it doesn't really matter what I say, unless what I say is what you want me to say. Do me a favor, don't ask any questions like that. Why? Because you're just getting yourself in trouble. You're just getting yourself in trouble and you're wasting my time. And unfortunately, many times it happens. And it's not necessarily always with big things. Sometimes it's with small things, sometimes it's with big things, but usually it's something that the person doesn't want to do and you in essence confirmed that they have to do it, or vice versa. Now one time somebody came to Rav Mordechai Eliyahu, alav Shalom, who was one of the Gdolei Ador, was the Rishon LeZion, and Rav Mordechai Eliyahu was Kodesh Kodeshim. Anyone that saw the book that we have in our KIRUV package, it has a section in there that talks about the Hila, the aura of a person. The aura of a person, this one person is a designer, is an inventor, an engineer. He invented a machine that in essence tests the aura. Or you use this machine in a unique way to show what the aura of a person is after they do mitzvot and after if they make a sin and so on. And one time, as part of his research, he went to Rav Mordechai Eliyahu and he asked the Rav, I want to see what your aura looks like if you put on tefillin. And Rav Mordechai Eliyahu says, I'm sorry, it takes me too long to do tefillin because of all the kavanot that I do. It takes too long. Let's just do it something easier. Put in a talit on. Now, a person's natural state is somewhere in yellow. But if he's doing a mitzvah, like putting on tefillin, it's usually purple, which means it's higher, holier, and so on. Babies usually have this almost natural state of purple. And interestingly enough, the natural state of Rav Mordechai Eliyahu, without anything, without praying, without talit, tefillin, nothing, was purple, which is unbelievable. After he put his talit on, he was white, practically a malach, an angel. Something that the average person can't even get to even if they put 3 tefillins on. But nonetheless, this tzaddik, one time, one of the Talmidim asked the Rav if he should now put on tefillin in the morning and leave them on the whole day while he's learning. Because that is the way of many of the Chachamim, especially in previous generations. They would have the tefillin on. The Rabbi Yochanan said one time that if he walked 4 amot, which is 6 feet, without tefillin on, it would be like Chilul Hashem, which is somebody in his status. And many other Chachamim would always have tefillin on. That's not necessarily the norm anymore. There are some Chachamim that always have, or at least a big part of the day, have the tefillin on. Many of the Chachamim have them when they're learning, but it's not necessarily common, it's not a must, it's not an obligation, and generally speaking, it's not even recommended for most people. But this young Talmid asked the rabbi, can I put the tefillin on while I learn? Now you would think, sure, you want to be holier, you want to put tefillin on, leave it all day while you're learning in a kollel, sure, Chazak u'Baruch, right? Rav Mordechai Eliyahu says to this young Talmid, please do not put the tefillin on and leave it on your head the whole day. Use it when you pray, take it off when you finish. And study like everybody else, lest the rest of us start looking to you like reshaim criminals. What? What? Don't put the tefillin on, because if you do, it is only a matter of time before the rest of us that don't have our tefillin on the whole day, like you, Mr. Kabbalist Ben Ishchai, Lo, you tzaddik Yesod Olam Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, you little mini version of Rav Kaduri, you have a tefillin on, but the rest of us don't. And even though we know Torah, we learn Torah, we teach Torah, but we're not like you. Suddenly we're all going to look like criminals to you. And that's what happens many times. Don't put it on. Why? That mitzvah that you're going to do is going to turn you into a rasha. And that's also another time, another Talmid came to him and told him, can I start keeping Shabbat an extra hour early? And Mordechai Eliyahu says to him, let me ask you something. When you do keep Shabbat an hour early, what do you think about all of those people that are driving to shul, but under normal times, meaning they're not driving on Shabbat. They're driving, 20 minutes before Shabbat comes in, a half hour before Shabbat comes in. But for you, since you started Shabbat an hour early, it's technically Shabbat for you. What do you think about those people? He's like, you want to know the truth, Rabbi? I think they're slacking a little bit. He says, you feel like they're violating Shabbat. Really? He goes, honestly, Rabbi, I love the Shabbat so much, it really does feel like they're violating Shabbat. Mordechai Eliyahu says to him, I commend you to stop keeping Shabbat an hour early, because your mitzvah is turning everybody else into reshaim even though they're not. They're keeping Shabbat normally. You decided to add a stringency to your life, but you obviously can't handle it because that stringency is making you arrogant and is turning all of the other decent, righteous people into reshaim in your eyes. This is not good. You have to stop right away. You have to stop right away. This is the difference, Rabotai Karim, between somebody who not only has the right HaShkafa, the right ideology by learning MUSSAR, but also knowing how to apply it by knowing the right amount of halacha. But unfortunately, many times people want to skip a step. They want to skip a step, not realizing that the Yetzirah is what's fueling them. It's not HaShem. They're learning of Torah, they're learning about Gehenom, they're learning about Kafakela, all of the punishments and so on. It's no longer what HaShem wants them to do. There are some people, all they want to learn about is about Gehenom, Kafakela, the horrible things. And surely we do mention Gehenom, Kafakela, and so on and so forth, practically in every shiur, but it's not the entire shiur. It's not the entire subject. It's not every shiur just about it. We mention it in every shiur to make sure there is reward and punishment, and it's generally relevant to every shiur. But some people, all they want is to learn about Gehenom and the punishment and the horrible things and so on and so forth. Many times, those people end up becoming completely horrible people that violate the entire Torah, but at the same time feel righteous because they see everybody else as reshaim. They see everybody else as reshaim. And many times you see those people hate everybody, they have animosity with everybody, they have no love for everybody else, they judge everybody else. They say, wait a minute, Rabbi, aren't you judging everybody else? I don't judge a single person. I tell you what is right, I tell you what is wrong. If there's a person that is misleading people, yes, we tell people that that person is misleading people. We tell people that person is misleading people in order to warn them. But if a person that's completely secular, atheist, hates everything, contacts us, we welcome him with open arms to try to help him. If a person that's religious, from birth, Hasidish, Litvish, Ashkenazi, Sephardi, whatever he is, comes, needs help, we welcome him with open arms. We try to help everybody. We're not judge or jury, we simply tell you what the law is. But the reality is that many people, they see things from their own perspective and in essence think that they could do their own thing with their own life, not realizing that there's a difference between a teaching and actual practice. And unfortunately, Rabotai Karim, many times this creates a chilul Hashem. Instead of having a person that's going to advertise the good that you're doing, the good Torah that you're teaching, the good Torah that's available in the world, and they turn the Torah into something ugly. And many times you'll see these people be very, very aggressive with somebody that just squeaks the wrong way. Squeaks the wrong way, they automatically take this person and tear him up into 1,500 pieces without even knowing whether they're allowed to do it or not allowed to do it. And unfortunately, many times a person could literally lose their olam haba just by simply not knowing how to practice the law. There was one time a person found out that this one guy cheated on his wife, and he decided that his friend told him this guy cheated on his wife. That's it. We got to tell this guy. We got to warn all the ladies. Don't talk to this guy. Don't do anything. And he publicized all over the place that this guy's an adulterer, a cheater, a liar, a thief, or this or that, whatever he is. As you would have it, a week passed by. The guy is denying everything. You don't know what you're talking about. No one wants to hear a word. And then the guy that told him the information says, listen, I think maybe you should stop. What? Stop what? Stop what? That guy, I got him, no? He goes, yeah, I think you should stop it. What do you mean you think you should stop? What's wrong? Well, really, I didn't really think that you're going to do everything you did and publicize all this stuff. But by the time I saw that you did it, it was kind of too late. But I figured too late is better than never. What do you mean? Well, he's not really an adulterer. But you said he was. Yeah, I was really mad at him because he didn't give me a job. When I applied for a job in his company, he didn't stick up for me, and I kind of got annoyed. And I just said something stupid. And you took it a little too far. Wait, so what you're saying is you lied about him? Yeah. Okay, so can I just say I'm sorry to him? Rabotai Karim. That person that just got his blood spilled all over the place with every single person that heard that he's an adulterer, whatever damage that he caused, first and foremost, the person that the false news came out on, most likely every sin that he has been wiped out because of all these reshaim that don't know how to use halacha and don't know how to warn people by first getting proof and evidence and so on, and talk to Talmidei Chachamim. They just spill out whatever seems good for the betterment of mankind. The guy that's the victim here, most likely his sins are wiped out. He's like a brand new baby. The guy that is the first guy and the second guy, they're in very, very serious trouble. Why? Because even if they apologize to the guy, to the victim, he doesn't actually have to forgive them. He doesn't actually have to forgive them. And as long as he doesn't forgive them, they have a very, very serious bill in Shamayim. Better yet, they have to make sure to go back to every single person that got this information from them and make sure that they spent all of the resources they can to publicize that they made a mistake. This we learn from Rabbeinu Yonah. Rabbeinu Yonah Migirondi, who wrote Sha'arei Tshuva, was one of the big rabbis that went against the Rambam 800 plus years ago, but then later on found out that he's wrong, and all of the rabbis that are going against the Rambam are wrong, and he spent the rest of his life, the next several decades, writing the book Sha'arei Tshuva, which is one of the foundations of all MUSSAR books, talking about his own tshuva, and better yet, publicizing his tshuva and his mistakes of going against the Rambam from community to community for the rest of his life. Why? He knew the magnitude of making such a mistake. And this is a giant. This is a giant among giants. Rabotai Karim, a person that does not know how to apply the Torah the right way to his life, and thinks that he could just learn MUSSAR and that will make him better. He thinks he could just learn halacha and that will make him better. He thinks he could just learn one facet of the Torah and that's enough. Not only is it not enough, but it could actually make him worse. The Torah is not a single facet diamond. The Torah is something that has multiple facets and we need to learn each and every part of it. Now, again, in the beginning it seems like it's too much. So I'm not saying you have to start with the entire Shulchan Aruch, all of the Sifrei Mussar, the Gemara, the Mefarshim, and so on day one. But you should strive for it. Just like a person that wants to be a CEO of a company that's already built, he's not going to go and ask for the CEO job on day one when all his knowledge that he's acquired in his life is how to sweep. But he should get the job, sweep whatever he can sweep, so at least he works for the company. And during the time that he has off, he also learns how to do other tasks that he can contribute to the company. And then after he's promoted, learn other tasks, and little by little go up the ladder, and eventually you become the CEO. Same concept with Torah. You start off with shiurim, you watch shiurim on a regular basis, you start dedicating time to watching them every single day. Again, my recommendation is always to learn them on the app, our BeEzrat HaShem app, because that is a way that you have no distractions. And anyone that's in the comments, that's in the Facebook Live that's watching it, also watch it on the live, but don't waste your time on the comments going back and forth with each other. Just focus on a shiur, take down as much notes as you possibly can so you can commit the learning to your memory, and even watch the shiur multiple times. And that way, even if you're watching one shiur a week, but you've committed it to memory and you've taken notes and everything else, you've spent several hours learning that shiur is going to help you. It's something that you've studied multiple times, you've committed it to your life. But now, that's going to help you want to learn, get that eagerness to want to learn a little bit more. So maybe you could increase the shiurim. If you want a little bit learn more, obviously get a book. You can get books from kosher publishers like artscroll.com, Feldheim, and some others, Moznaim, different publishers that have good books, good sfarim that you could learn. You could get our KIRUV package that has multiple books. It's on our website. You could just buy the books that's in it on your own, whatever you want to do. Point is, get yourself a chumash, get yourself a different books to start learning. I have on the website, we have a file called a conversion or tshuva syllabus, which is in essence a syllabus that shows different things that a person needs to learn, whether they want to be a Jew by converting, or they are doing tshuva, which is in essence the same thing, just without the bedin. So what are the things that you need to learn? Has a different list, has a bunch of recommendations of books. You can get the books there. One of the new things that we have on there that we've added recently is the new series of books that was translated to English by Rav Nisim Yagen Alav Shalom. All series of books, which is really all the MUSSAR that you need in one series of books that you could apply to the entire year. There's MUSSAR about Shabbat, MUSSAR about, and other teachings about all of the holidays, Pesach, Sukkot, and the Mashiach. What does it mean, dedication to Torah, living Torah, a life of Torah, and so on and so forth. A lot of amazing books that were recently translated to English. That's a nice series to read, and I would say even to celebrate once you've completed reading the entire series. So that's one thing you can get as a starting collection, and again, add more and more over time. But this, Rabotai Yekarim, is something that a person needs to do on top of the shiurim. On top of the shiurim. Not just this or just that. You do on top. You keep adding a little bit more. You do a little bit in the morning, a little bit at night, and so on and so forth. Why? Because a person needs to have Torah, not just morning and night, but also different parts of Torah. But many times a person thinks that he has learned enough to do tshuva, and what does he do? He abandons, or she abandons, the shiurim. And I've had this happen quite a few times, where a person starts watching the shiurim that we have, start doing tshuva, changing their life, keeping Shabbat, keeping this, keeping that, and then you see after however long they're watching your shiurim, for a year, 2 years, 3 years, and you see their comments once in a while, and you see a text message once in a while, all of a sudden they disappear off the face of the earth, and you don't hear from them unless it's an emergency for a year or 2 years. And then finally, after you hear from them, hey, how are you? What's going on? Oh, listen, Rabbi, I haven't talked to you in a long time, and I just wanted to say hi. Okay, what happened to you? What, did something happen? No, listen, I learned a lot and, I'm advanced. Now I'm going into the secret side of the Torah. I'm more advanced, so I'm going into a higher level of Torah. What do you mean a higher level of Torah? What? Higher level of Torah than what we teach in the shiurim? No, I don't want to offend. Yeah, it's just, I'm reading more of like the Kabbalah and the mystical part and the Gemara and this part. Unfortunately, Rabotai, as funny as this sounds, I've heard this quite a few times, and it's sad, but it's a sad reality. People actually think that once they've watched a year or 2 years or 3 years worth of shiurim, that's it. They know everything that the rabbi knows. They know everything that the rabbi is going to teach. They're now going to learn from a more advanced source. They're going to read from a book. They're going to be ready for a different teacher and so on and so forth. Now, if we were teaching the same exact thing every single week and giving the same exact lecture about my personal story every single week, or the same exact lecture about the weekly Torah portion, or the same exact lecture about the same exact book every single week, then they would be right. But the reality is that every single week, every single lecture, it's a different completely lecture, and it's something that many Talmidei Chachamim are learning with us. We have people that, Baruch HaShem, are Torah scholars that watch our shulim from all over the world. From people that are great giants that you've heard their names before and even seen some of their videos, to other people that perhaps are less known but are extraordinary Talmidei Chachamim, to average people, to brand new people, to people that are not Jewish but want to be Jewish, and all people of all walks of life. Why? Because it's Torah and we need to learn it. There is no this is not enough, or you've graduated this. But what does it really mean when someone says that they need something better? It means that they watched your shiurim for X amount of time and they didn't learn anything. Why? Because they remained arrogant. They took all of the shiurim, and instead of those shiurim making them better, it actually made them a worse person. It actually made them a worse person, unfortunately. And it's not necessarily the fault of the teacher, but rather the fault of the person that does not apply the Torah to themselves the right way. Instead of learning the Torah in order to soften themselves, they use the Torah in order to make themselves more arrogant than they already were in the first place. And that's what the Arizal says here, where he says that these people that are wicked, arrogant people, their learning of Torah is not the Torah that's going to make them holier, but rather it's a Torah that's going to make their klipa even thicker, making it even more difficult for them to do tshuva. This is the reason why the Gemara in Masechet Brachot says that when a person has a Yetzirah, Masechet Brachot page 5a, has a Yetzirah, says as soon as you have a Yetzirah to do something bad. Somebody tells you, go to a nightclub, watch a movie, get drunk, do drugs, promiscuity, all of these horrible things that you're not supposed to do as a Jew, needless to say, as a human being. And a person has a Yetzirah, has an evil inclination, pulling him to make a sin. So the Gemara says, he should say, Shema Yisrael. Why? He should remind himself that Hashem is watching. If that's not enough, he should learn Torah. Go deeper, go learn, pick a MUSSAR book, pick something, Gemara, a Chumash, something to learn Torah. Maybe you need more than just Shema Yisrael. And if that doesn't work, then think about the day that you're going to die, because that, everybody that knows what's Gan Eden, what's Genom, what's Kafakela, what's Chibuta Kever, all of these different horrific situations for sinners, he's going to not want to sin once he realizes that eventually he's going to have to pay the bill. If he learned these lessons, that is going to be very meaningful at the time he wants to sin. Because he may not be thinking about what happens in the grave after he dies on a regular basis. He may not be thinking about Kafakela on a regular basis. He may not be thinking about Genom on a regular basis. But at the moment of sin, if he learned that subject, and he learned this Gemara also, the Gemara says specifically, If Shema Yisrael doesn't stop you from sinning, and learning Torah doesn't stop you from sinning, then you should remind yourself of what you learned about what happens after you die. And if you don't know what happens after you die, then go to Rabbi Yaron Reuven, Genom, shiur number 84, or tikkunabrit.org. There's plenty of shiurim that we have about the topic. It'll give you a good understanding of what it means to sin. But then there's another Gemara. Masechet Kiddushin, page 30, says that if the menuval, the despicable Yetzirah comes to you, pull him to the Bet HaMidrash to learn Torah. So comes Rav Ephraim and he says, wait a minute. How come in one Gemara in Masechet Kiddushin of 30b says, if you have this Yetzirah, pull him to the Bet Midrash, learn Torah, that should be enough. But Masechet Brachot says, no, Habibi. Shema Yisrael doesn't work, learn Torah doesn't work, think about the day you're going to die. How come the other Gemara adds something before and something after? Whereas the first one says, straight to the Torah. How come? Because of what the Arizal says. It says some people, all they need is a little bit of Torah and they're going to stop sinning. You spark them up a little bit, he doesn't want to sin anymore, he wants to do tshuva, she wants to do tshuva, she wants to do good things, Baruch HaShem. But some people, they live a delusionary life. They live a delusionary life. They live a life where it's literally fantasy. They have no real perception of life, of who they are and where they stand and where everybody else is. So first you have to remind them, bring yourself back to earth, say Shema Yisrael. That doesn't work, learn some Torah, turn on the BeEzrat HaShem app, press play anywhere. Go. But sometime it doesn't work, so you have to go to a specific shiur, named Genom, named Tikkun Abrit, and press play and increase the volume just for yourself, not for the whole world, because you're the only one that needs it at that point. Put the headphones in and blast it in your head until you feel like you're in the movie and everything is happening to you. Why? Because you, my friend, have a very serious problem. The Torah is not working for you. What works for you? Scaring you to death. That's what works for you. Why? Because you use the Torah to unfortunately become arrogant, not to become better. This is the reason why, Rabotai, it's very important for a person to know both halacha and the actual MUSSAR of when to apply it. A person tells you, listen, it's important for me to go to the grave of the tzaddikim, to go see Rabbi Nachman in Breslev on Rosh Hashanah. And I've had this happen. A woman calls me crying, telling me that her husband wants to go to the grave site of Rabbi Nachman in Breslev, alav shalom, and she doesn't want her husband to go. And I said, okay, so he's not allowed to go. She says, but can you talk to him? What doesn't he understand about he's not allowed to go? No, he says it's the biggest mitzvah in the Torah. So did he ever learn halacha? You look, Ilchot Rosh Hashanah, Siman Taf Kuf Pei Aleph. You'll see what halachot of Rosh Hashanah is. You're also going to find it in the Mishnah Brura. And it says, simple, in Siman Dalet, you go to the Rama, and it says, V'yesh nohagim, litvol be'erev Rosh Hashanah, mishum keri, v'yesh mekomot nohagim, lelech al akvarot, ולהרבות שם בתחינות, ונותנים שם צדקה לעניים. Says there are some that have the custom to go to the mikveh on the eve of Rosh Hashanah. And there are some that have the custom, not halacha, not obligation, the custom to go to the grave sites of the righteous and to pray over there. And if you look at the BeEzrat, over there, says, the Bet HaKvarot u'mekom menuchat HaTzadikim. The grave sites of the tzaddikim, it's the rest site of the tzaddikim. U'mitoch kach u'makom kadosh v'tahor. The grave site of the tzaddikim is a holy and pure place. V'atfilah nitkabla yoter, and over there the prayer is can be accepted. More likely to be accepted. V'mitpalel al kivrei tzaddikim al yasim migamato neged hamitim. אך יבקש מהשם יתברך שייתן עליו רחמים בזכות הצדיקים שוכני עפר. He says, but a person should not put his reliance on the tzaddik, whether it be Rabbi Nachman Rebreslev, or the Lubavitcher Rebbe, or Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, or anybody else. Should never pray to the tzaddik, but rather ask Hashem Yitbarach to have mercy on him due to the merit of the tzaddik that's buried here. Why should he do it due to the merit of the tzaddik that's buried there? Because if he's a tzaddik, he has extra merits. And if you're going to learn his Torah and do mitzvot in his name, in essence, it's like he's going to be like a lawyer for you, an attorney for you, fighting your case because you're doing good for him. And by learning his Torah, he gives him more merits. So he's going to fight your case. But you never pray to the tzaddik. Never ever pray to the tzaddik. But unfortunately, Rabotai Yekarim, many times people pray to the tzaddikim, or worse yet, they turn to the mystical world without knowing what's right and what's left. And the Rivash says, in a response of the Rivash, he says that some mekubalim, well, obviously he's talking about fake mekubalim, people that don't know what they're doing, are worse than idol-worshipping Christians because they turn God into 10 rather than the Christians turning him into 3. What is the Rivash saying here? He says, when you learn, you're going to go delve into the Kabbalah world. You have to understand how to learn it, where Kabbalah, the whole mystical teaching, it's all parables. It's all parables, and you can't understand it literally. You have to understand the parable, you have to understand the analogies, you have to understand how there's a mashal and a nimshal. There's a story and there's a lesson from the story, and you can't just read things literally. But the Rivash says that some people, early in their life, where they have not learned enough halacha, enough MUSSAR, enough Gemara, enough poskim, but they just delve into the Kabbalistic world, already become these mekubalim. And what ends up happening is they don't actually know how to learn Kabbalah, and they understand what it says literally, and they take the 10 aspects of God, which are 10 traits that Hashem has, and turn it into 10 different parts of God, chas v'shalom, as if God has parts. And he says those people are worse than idol-worshipping Christians. They have a long beard, they have a kippah, but they're worse than idol worshippers. Why? Because they are turning God into pieces. The Christians turn him into 3, they turn him into 10. And that's why you see many people that don't know themselves right or left automatically hate the Kabbalah world, automatically hate the mystical world, because they think, oh yeah, look, over there it says that God has 10 pieces. No, only idiots think that. And you learn from idiots. You learn from people that shouldn't have been learning themselves. Instead of learning from those people, spend your time learning what you're supposed to be learning, and you'll be much better off. But that, Rabotai, is sometimes too much to ask for some people. Why? Because they're too focused on proving everybody wrong and not learning what is right and what is wrong. So we see here, Rabotai, that without the right type of teaching and a rabbi to show you the way, and you listen to that rabbi regardless of whether he says right or left, a person is simply doomed. And I've seen this time and time again with different people that did not want to take the answer of what the Torah says and what the rabbi says and simply go in a wrong direction and get more wrong by time, but the ego continues to stop the person from turning back around. And unfortunately, this happens a little bit too often, but that just is what it is. There's nothing you can do about it. If Yerovan ben Nevad had HaShem come to him and ask him, plead with him to come back, and he didn't, obviously you see the power of the ego there. And unfortunately, many people do not have even a fraction of the Torah that Yerovan ben Nevad had, but yet have even a bigger ego than he did. Now, to go back to our original questions, we had two questions where a guy asked for a fish. I'm going to buy this fish, give me the fish. And the market owner got the fish, told him this is X price, very expensive. He said, I agree, I want the fish. He says, okay, cut it open for me so I could, it's ready for me, no problem. He cuts open the fish and he finds a chain full of diamonds and jewels in it. Question is, who does the diamonds and jewels belong to? The fisherman believes that it's his. The guy that's buying the fish obviously believes it's his because he bought the fish and whatever's in the fish is his. Especially since he says, if I asked you to open the fish and you open the fish and I decided that I don't want the fish anymore, Allah says that I'm obligated to pay for the fish. Whether I take it or not is my problem, but I'm obligated to pay for the fish. So surely that is considered as if I own the fish. Second question is with the guy that took the parts out of the car that wasn't his because the car was going to be towed away and thrown in a junkyard. So to answer the first question, our natural inclination, especially if you know the story of Yosef Mokir Shabbat, the tzaddik Yosef that was honoring the Shabbat, spending all of his money for the honor of Shabbat, and one day bought a very expensive fish with his last bit of money. And HaShem blessed him to have a huge diamond in that fish that some wealthy Gentile lost. And he ended up becoming the richest man in the land. So, if you know that story, automatically you think, this guy from our story today, it's the modern day version of that story. Surely the diamond ring, the diamond necklace and the jewels all belong to him. He bought the fish. Especially since you're even giving me a clue, which is that he can't not pay for the fish. Because if he says, no, I don't want the fish, after the guy cut it, which he did cut it, then he has to pay for it anyway, which means he owns the fish. So our natural inclination will say, yes, he owns the fish. But that would be wrong. Why is it wrong? Because in the Torah, according to Halacha, there has to be a step taken in order to acquire something. Either a person pays for it, the money has been exchanged, or he lifts it. In this case, he did not lift it. Why? Because the guy took the fish, showed him the fish. I told you all the steps. Showed him the fish. Said, you want the fish? He said, yes. How much? He told him the price. He said, yes. To us, in the secular world, that's buying something. In the Torah world, that's not buying something. Saying, I'll pay X amount of money for that fish, for that house, for that thing, that's not buying it. Why? There has to be a step taken in order to actually make that ownership real. Saying I'm going to buy it and agreeing to a price, that's not taking control of it. So what happens is, he now took the fish, agreed to the price, says cut the fish. He cuts the fish, and now the second he cut the fish, technically the guy that asked him to cut the fish has to pay for it. So you would think, naturally, that means he bought the fish. Still no. Why no? Because the halacha is, it's not that he acquired the fish and therefore he has to pay for it. It's that because he asked for the fish to be cut and his decision not to take the fish would cause the owner of the fish a loss because he cut the fish already and he may not have a buyer for this fish, that would create a loss. That is the reason why he would have to pay for it if he rejected the fish. It's not that he owns it. It's rather because his decision would cause a loss to another Jew and therefore he has to pay for the fish that way. But it does not make him an owner. And in reality is, the guy that is holding the fish, the guy that is cutting the fish, he is the rightful owner of the fish and everything that's in it at that moment. And therefore it is not exactly like the story of Yosef Mukir Shabbat, because in this case, the fisherman owns the fish. If he would have given him the fish in his hands, he took it, everything, that fish and everything in it belongs to him. But as long as it's in the possession of the fisherman, it's still his. It's still his. This is, again, intricate little details of halacha, of how MUSSAR, again, is not enough sometimes. It's not enough because our inclination, oh, you should be right, you should do this, you should do that. It's not necessarily always the case. Same goes with the guy that took the parts. Our inclination is going to say, listen, the guy left his car there, but it's still his car. It's still his car. The fact that the city left him a notice there that he's going to lose his car in X amount of days if he doesn't move it. It's still his car, technically, until they take it and they destroy it. The other guy that took parts out of that car and made him his, it's not his. He can't just take his property. According to the rule of the land, if you do that in America or you do it in other places, most likely you're right. In a Torah, you'll be wrong. Why? The Gemara in Masechet Bava Metzia, page 23, says that if a person is walking and suddenly a wind comes and his hat flies off of his head, and as much as you would try, unfortunately you won't catch it because the hat flies into the river, and the river is going to go down and he's never going to be able to get it. While at the same time, someone is swimming in the river. And he's able to grab the hat, and he does grab the hat. What is the obligation of the person that grabbed the hat? Even if he sees the guy that lost the hat, he's on top of the bridge. He's on the bottom of the bridge with the hat. The guy that's on top of the bridge lost the hat. It fell down. It's going to go down the river, and he's going to lose it forever. The other guy is swimming over there, got the hat. Our inclination, if you just learn MUSSAR, you have to be nice to people, go return the hat, is wrong. Why? Because the Gemara says, if the hat is already in a situation where it's already at a point where he can never get it back, there is no possible way for him to get it back at this point. There's no possible way for getting it back. Automatically it becomes hefker. Hefker means public property. In so many words, the guy that found it does not have to return it to him. He can keep it for himself. This is applied to our story. The guy that left the car there, although he owned the car for all of that time, the time that the car was there and it was the last day or last few hours before the city came to tow the car, that means that there was no chance for the guy that owned it to actually get possession of his car and save his car. Why? He was still in a different country. There was no way for him to save his car, which means that at that moment, that car became public property. Anybody could have taken it. The guy that took it did not steal from him. Why? It was public property at that point because there was no way for him to save that car. So he was allowed to take those pieces of the car and use it for himself. Now, if someone wants to do midat chasidut, which is do something above the law, which is to be more righteous, he should return the hat. He should pay a little bit money for the hat and pay a little bit of money for the equipment or different parts of the car that he took, but he doesn't have to. He can, he should, but he doesn't have to. And this, Rabotai, is how a person needs to understand. MUSSAR is to soften you. Halacha is to tell you when to use it. MUSSAR is to strengthen you. Halacha is to show you when to use that strength. And that's the beauty of the Torah. If you only focus on one and think that this is the whole Torah, you're bound to fall and trip on yourself. But if you understand that the Torah is huge, and I have to listen to my rabbi, and what he says, and how he leads me, and what he tells me to learn, and what he teaches me, and so on and so forth, and you allow HaKadosh Baruch Hu's messengers to lead you in the right direction, BeEzrat HaShem, each and every single one of us will be led in the right direction to success, to a long life full of Torah, mitzvot, milut chasadim, and bracha v'atzlacha lanu ve'kol am Yisrael. Baruch Adonai le'olam. Amen ve'amen.
Seven years of lectures. Seven months of film editing. Countless hours of study by two rabbis. Information we received over 3,000 years ago. All for this moment. Whom had greed? The movie.
There's a small member in your body. It shouldn't take over your whole life. If you satiate it, you're never going to have enough.
The Soper clan, when it gets a hold of something, it does not let go.
Time for us to rectify what we have done.
Normal numbers should be somewhere around 20 million or higher.
You're never going to have control of it. If you start it, only feed it when it's permissible, according to the Torah.
Pornography is as addictive as crack cocaine.
You're always going to be happy, including this world and the next. Baruch Adonai le'olam. Amen.